It has been a chaotic week at the FBI as the Trump administration tries to root out any traces of alleged political bias in the Bureau. Now, that move faces legal challenges and pushback from agents at the nation's most powerful investigative agency. It began a week ago when the Justice Department asked the FBI for a list of agents who participated in investigations tied to the January 6th Capitol riot. The FBI ultimately provided employee information, but not names. Then, over the weekend, thousands of agents were asked to complete surveys detailing their involvement. And then, earlier this week, the acting attorney general wrote in an internal memo that agents who, quote, carried out their duties in an ethical manner would be safe. But others who acted, quote, with corrupt or partisan intent or weaponized the FBI in any way would be fired. All this has had a chilling effect on many FBI agents, some who fear that the Trump administration is trying to retaliate against them. Now, 2 lawsuits have been filed arguing that the DOJ survey is unlawful and that compiling agents' names would endanger them. Yesterday, a judge temporarily blocked the release of around 5,000 names. And one agent who completed the questionnaire talked to our Scott McFarland about the process. We've protected their identity. Take a listen.
What was it like filling out that questionnaire? Saying what you did and when you did it?
Really demoralizing. Defeated. We all feel defeated. And for nothing. We don't feel like anyone has our backs.
Joining us now is retired FBI Executive Assistant Director Chris Piehota. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. You've worked at the Bureau for more than 20 years before you retired, and we appreciate having you with us.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be with you and your audience.
Good morning. So just to jump right in, a lot of agents feel that their backs are against the wall, that no one is vouching for them. What is the impact that you think this could be happening at the agency?
Well, first of all, it's a major distraction from their daily operational duties and the core mission set of the FBI, which is to combat national security threats and crime problems. I think you have now what is seen as a lack of confidence from the FBI in its superior organization, which is the Department of Justice. So I think they're feeling a bit anxious, maybe some fear. And when we need our FBI agents to be bold and assertive in engaging an evolving threat environment, we're going to find agents that are more timid.
Chris, if the Trump administration believes that the FBI had been weaponized under the last administration, that's what they say over and over again, and they wanted to investigate that question, how would you suggest they go about doing it, if not in this way?
Well, I think what you're finding now is there's some information gathering on the front end of a conversation that hasn't been handled with the greatest of sensitivity or finesse. I mean, they're going to want to know how many resources from the FBI were dedicated toward this January 6th effort. They're going to want to know how many agents were involved, how many leads were covered. They're going to want to know how many man hours. All those things are natural requests for an investigation of that scope. I think they could have done a better job, they being the administration or the Department of Justice, in providing context and making assurances up front about what their intent might be versus after the fact and saying no one's going to be fired or there wouldn't be any mass firings after a week of anxiety and confusion and ambiguity. So I think the request for information itself is not the problem. It's how it was handled and delivered.
Now, Chris, FBI agents, they're apolitical, but they're human also. When you were at the agency, did you see any evidence or traces of political bias in either way?
No, not one time. I spent almost 25 years with the FBI. I was never one time asked about my political preference, nor my religious preference, or anything along those lines. We did not speak in ideological terms. There were things we disagreed with, but you kept that to yourself unless you saw a violation of law or policy that then you would raise through your chain of command. But otherwise, the FBI internally, the people who do the work on a day-to-day basis, they do the work. They're there to enforce federal law, protect the American people, uphold the Constitution. Where you find some challenges was at the higher levels of FBI leadership in Washington, D.C., where I believe some of the very, very senior leaders allowed some of their own personal ideological or political preferences to creep into decision making.
And now the ramifications could be on the backs of the agents who are going to be potentially named for following leads or orders and doing basic investigatory work around the January 6 cases. If those names are released and made public, what are your fears, concerns, worries? What are the consequences for the people on that list?
Well, first of all, I would hope that our senior leadership in the country would take great care to protect that list of names. To provide a list of names of FBI agents to the general public is to endanger those agents as well as their families. And that is completely unfair, unacceptable, and it should not and cannot happen. You also give our adversaries, whether it be our international adversaries or criminal organizations, a chance to identify and strike back against FBI agents and their families. So on many levels, from a security level toward even a confidence level, that these people can go out and engage with dangerous people. They can go to dangerous places and do dangerous things on our behalf with the security of our own government. We can't allow that to be damaged or betrayed.
Chris, do you think all this hurts recruitment?
I think strategically it can. In the short term, definitely. There will be some folks taking a second look at whether they want to be part of the organization. Strategically, it can lead to a long-term decrement in people interested in a career with the FBI. And I would say that our national leaders have to take a look at that. The FBI is one of the most powerful and important parts of our protective infrastructure. We can't afford not to have people who want to serve and protect our communities. So I think that has to remain a very, I guess you can say, important and foremost factor as we move forward on this.
All right, Chris Piehota, former FBI Executive Assistant Director, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.